sort of looking after questions and things like that over the next sort of 45 minutes. So yeah, a little bit about myself before we get to sort of going. So I'm a senior consultant and auditor for Citation ISO certification. So I spend time doing consultancies and audits mainly on the 9, 14 and 45 standards. I've been with the company for about 18 months, joined during the pandemic. Yeah, it's been different, and I really enjoy what I do. You'll see there's a chat there, so you can put some questions in as we go through the webinar today, and we'll get to sort of answering some of those questions as we get to the sort of end of the presentation. We've got a couple of polls that we're just going to start with. So hopefully the first one will pop up very shortly. And if you could, this is something for us to take away afterwards. So really, why did you join the webinar? If you could just really appreciate if you could just drop a little bit in there, just why you've joined the webinar. Is it because you're looking at going into a management system, whatever that may be? So if you could, that would be really appreciated. So we'll let that run just for a little while. That'll be really good. So yeah, we're going to talk about the management review, and we're also just going to digress a little bit from that as we go through the slides. So that'll just give us a little bit more time for you to sort of type in questions, anything you might have there. You'll also see that there's my email address and Citations email address in there. So if you want to direct anything towards me after this meeting, whether you'd be interested in something or you wanted a little bit more information, you're more than welcome to copy and paste those addresses, and I'll be available in the next couple of days to pick up any of those emails. I will try and answer all of your emails and get in touch with you. If I don't, it will be a case of Citation will as well. So I can see we've got quite a few people have put some information in there. So that's that's really good, and it's still going. So yeah, we've got a good 70%. So that's really, really pleased. Let's hope we get the same on the second. So we're going to do a second poll in a minute, which is just a click of a button, really, just to give me a little bit more idea of how to sort of conduct and where we're going to go with that. So all good. So hopefully we're about there. No, it's still going. So that's really good. Yeah, we're at 80%. So yeah, that's really good. That's a really good input. So I do appreciate you all putting your information in there. It's going to be really valuable for us to get a good idea of what sort of people are interacting with the webinar. So thank you very much. All good. So yeah, I think we're all good with that. So appreciate that. And the second one, do you currently have a management system? So again, on here, it's just a case of yes, no, yes, not yet, but interested. So again, people that have already got a management system, it's just maybe just wanting to improve their management review and what to look at with regards to that. So I can see, the majority, sort of 80%, currently have a management system. Now, that's obviously really good. So yeah, that gives me a really good idea now of what we want to do with regards to just going through the presentation. So give it another couple of seconds, and then we will start looking at a bit of a discussion, really. Okay, so we're up to 85%, so I think that's going to give us a good idea. So again, appreciate that, everybody. Okay, so how to conduct a management review. So we've not got loads of slides here, and again, these slides will all be emailed out to you probably by the end of this week. So you'll get a copy of the recording. So this is recording, and a copy of the slides. So all these that we go through now, you'll get a copy of these. So that should be all good. Just making sure I've covered everything off, which I think I have. So yes. So what are we going to do then? So what is a management review? So we're going to have a look at the basics. What part does it play in maintaining the management system, and who needs to be involved? Within the details, how to run a management review. There's some templates to help, and again, that will come with the slides that you get in the after today. The templates will be in there. Then we'll do some questions, and then we'll talk a little bit about sort of consultancies and actually conducting management reviews. So we'll do that again, as I say, at the end. Okay, so a management review is a structured meeting held at least once a year. So it doesn't have to be just once a year. It can be increments of that. So you might do part of it each month, you might do it quarterly, but I would generally say for a new management system, I would review the management system every 6 months to start with. And then as you get, you've done your first 3, you bed into to get the culture right and what you're doing within the business, then you may decide to do that on an annual basis. But if you're at the start of that journey, I would expect you really to be doing that a little bit more often to make sure you're picking up any sort of non-conformities, objectives, or looking at all those sort of things. It's obviously an essential part of the management system maintenance. And it's a way of checking that your management system is working properly. So we're not doing the management review for the sake of doing the review. We're always looking at continual improvement, aren't we? So we're looking at continually improving the business, and the management review is an integral part of looking at all those different aspects to make sure that that sort of continual improvement is happening. Okay, so it plans it plays an important part in making sure that your management system is working for you and your business. It reviews and evaluates. It checks to fit with your business, and it keeps senior management up to date. Okay, so we need to make sure that when we're sort of looking at our management review, that we're evaluating its effectiveness, that we're looking at the management system and not necessarily just the business. So it's not a review of the business, it's a review of the management system within the business. Sometimes when we go to audit companies, we'll see a review of the business, and that won't have the aspects of Section 9 necessarily in it. So always make sure that we're doing a review of the management system. Okay, it also checks that your system is still fit for the business and it's following the strategic direction of the business, and also you've got your appropriate company objectives in there, and your objectives need to make sure that your company objectives are smart, so they're specific, measurable, agreeable, realistic, time bound. So we're not just making objectives and saying we want to increase the business by 5%. We actually need to put some smart objectives in there to sort of demonstrate how we're going to do that in a controlled manner. It's also a great opportunity for senior management to touch base and to be alerted of any changes or updates that have been made to the system. Again, when we talk about the changes, they're really good to be documented as well, because as I probably appreciate, you're all very, very busy and you can move from one change to another change, and it's vitally important that we're documenting those changes to make sure that when we're doing the management review, we're actually taking a step back, we're looking at those changes, and we can communicate them as well, how good we're doing with regards to our business and what changes we've made over the 6 or the 12-month period. So the management review should involve senior management, but input from all other individuals is important to make the process more useful. We talk about communication in Section 10. We want to make sure within continual improvement. So communication is vital to make sure that people within the business, top to bottom, are involved in what we're doing. Okay, so before the meeting, hold on a second. Yep, so before the meeting, give attendees as much data and information as possible. Think of discussion points and create an agenda. Get evidence ready to bring, such as minutes of previous meetings, management system documentation, internal external audit reports, records, register of legal and other requirements, complaints analysis, corrective and preventative actions, and policies reviews. Now, within this, when we talk about give people as much data, we also need to sort of make sure that when we're talking about a management review, really it's all in the prep. We need to make sure that we've got all this information together, and we'll look at a slide on that in a moment. We've got all that information together, so when we're sitting in the management review, we've got the previous management review minutes. We're looking at outstanding issues from the previous management review, and we're looking at internal audits, possibly non-conformances from those internal audits. And again, it comes back to those changes. We need to make sure that it's as interactive as possible. So think about discussion points beforehand. Again, we'll look at that agenda. And people will look for that when they come to do the ISO audit. Discussion of statuses of any issues from the previous meetings. So we need to make sure we're closing those off and that we're documenting how we're progressing. Again, changes to the external, internal issues that affect the management system. So that's things at the moment like the cost of products. It might be exchange rates internationally, and also what's going on politically. So they have an interaction as well within the business. Review of all available resources to make sure that we can maintain not only the business but the management system, and also an examination of how effective the actions taken towards identified risks and opportunities. So we talk about risks and opportunities, maybe a SWOT analysis, something like that, and you take that SWOT analysis and maybe interact that into your objectives, and those will all come together as part of your management review. So you'll talk about all of those to make sure that we're continually improving and looking at those SWOT analysis and those objectives to keep the business sort of going forward. We'll have a look at a second at what the sort of agenda will look like. So here we go. Okay, so during the meeting, so assessment of trends in performance, feedback from interested parties. So interested parties, for those that don't know, any person or organisation that have an interest in your business. So they may be your customers, they may be neighbouring businesses, HMRC, all those sort of things, your insurance brokers. They're all interested parties because they're any person or organisation that have an interest in your business. Effectiveness of actions taken to address risks and opportunities. So again, we spoke about the SWOT analysis and obviously your opportunities for improvement, because we're continually improving. So we need to look at those opportunities. And again, when we come back to communication, the more we can communicate with people, the more feedback we will hopefully get to help with those opportunities for improvement. During the meeting, you should keep detailed minutes noting down who is responsible for each action and what their deadline is. So it's not a case of saying Joe Bloggs needs to do A, B, and C. We need some timelines on there because we need to manage those and continually improve. And if we don't have an end date, then it can sort of drag out. Be inspiring, make it interactive. You can make the session more engaging with discussion points, Q&As, or brainstorming. So you may go off on a bit of a tangent and do a bit of brainstorming. And again, invite participants to share their insights too. Again, the more people that are involved, potentially that can then feed out into the wider business to give other people a bit more of an idea of what the management review is about and what's discussed in a management review. So yeah, we can sort of look at those as well. So what we're going to do now is just look at a template of a management review. So when we talk about the agenda is basically this. If I show you this slide, the agenda is basically these questions on the left-hand side, yeah, and then you will fill these in. But I'm just going to come back to this first page. So this is sort of a template review for a 9001, and I'll talk about these templates when we get a little bit further down and what templates are available if you're sort of a client of ours and we perform your consultancy and then your audits. We will provide you with all this information. So yeah, we have our issue number, your first meeting, and then you're looking at your preparation. You're looking at the materials to bring. So you want to give people the information so they know what they need to bring beforehand, so that people just don't turn up with what they think they need. And the meeting objectives. So what you want to get from it, what you're going to try and get from this meeting. So yeah, if I just go to this slide here, I'm hoping everybody can see that. Just do a little bit of work at my end. So yes, so when we're looking at this, so these questions sort of cover off section 9 of the standard, as I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to just pick some bits at random here. So evaluation of compliance with applicable legislation, regulations, and other requirements. So that might be your legal register. You might have a legal register that you want to maintain. And in the management review, you'd have a look and discuss maybe with the health and safety manager about what's changed from a legislation point of view and how you're going to address that. We've also got things like review of performance towards the management system objectives and targets from the previous period. So again, you may have had a previous management review. You're looking at this management review and then looking at what's changed with regards to your objectives. Have you achieved some of those? Do they need to then drop off and they need to be replaced with some more objectives based on what you found from your more recent SWOT analysis? And again, your SWOT analysis looking at your business strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Your strengths and weaknesses are internal, opportunities and threats are external. Again, we have templates for these within the Atlas platform. So conducting a management review, this would really be blank when you start, and you'd fill these in. Now, when filling out a management review, I see more too often really where the information is very vague. So you can see in the example here, there's a fair bit of writing, and that's the more writing the better. You can say it should tell a story. We should be able to read it and understand what's going on within the business. If we've got something like interested parties, you're talking about interested parties and it just says no change. That doesn't really demonstrate that you've looked at your interested parties. You would have something in there along the lines of the interested parties has been evaluated for the current period and there are no changes to this. So you want to put some information in there so that when people are reading the management review minutes, they've got a good understanding. Again, you'll also have in there, as you can see on the right hand side, the actions that come from that management review and any associated documents that are needed for that. Okay, so I mean that's sort of the management review, so to speak. And I know hopefully people have sort of put questions in, etc. And we'll touch base on those sort of shortly. And again, when we talk about these templates. The handy templates to help you to find the templates within Atlas. You've got the link there. Again, if you've not got access to those at the moment, you can obviously email me and we can sort of touch base on that afterwards. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to some questions if we have some in there, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more afterwards, just on the consultancy and also part the wider sort of group. So do we have any sort of questions at the moment at all? So what are your guidelines as to management review attendees, all senior management on the operational executive side, something else? Bottom line being, the more in the review sessions, the trickier it is to align and agree on a path forward. Yeah, it can be difficult. And all businesses are different. So you sort of need to, again, if you have them, if you have these quarterly, and you that gives you a bit of variation on different people that can attend each of the management reviews. So you may have a mix of more senior management, line management maybe, and you might even have other people within the business to give you that bit of breadth with regards to your management system. If you're doing it annually, again, depends on the size of the business. It can be more tricky because, again, trying to get all those people together at one time. You may have representatives for your senior management if they've got other things going on at the moment. So it's really a case of just having a look and seeing how you can best adapt to get the best out of those, because the agreeing on the pathway forward, it can management reviews can sort of go on for quite a while that's sort of discussing. But whoever the chair of that will need to sort of steer it in the right sort of direction. Okay, I hope that answers your question, Greg. And we've got another one from Katie. Should the management review include financial forecasts, etc.? Well, we're, as part of the standard, we're not necessarily looking at the financial. So that would you might find that mainly is in a review of the business. But it's always good to make sure that from a financial point of view, it's always, management review. There's a cost to the implementation. There's a cost to maintaining that. So, you may not look at financial forecasts in great detail, but there is no harm at all within the management review of talking about your financial forecasts, because it will, you're talking about your interested parties, you talk about your customers, your suppliers throughout the standard. So as part of that, you would be talking, the financial part would have a side on that. So again, I probably wouldn't go into a load of detail on that, but I would include it. And we've got another one. So Justina, when we look at objectives, targets and actions on quality management system, should they only be related to quality, environment and health and safety, or can it include any company objectives, as long as they are SMART, as you mentioned at the beginning? So yeah, absolutely. For me, when you look at objectives, SMART, they need to align with the strategic direction of the business. So if you've only got a 9001 quality standard, but one of your objectives looks at health and safety because you've recently had a RIDDOR, then have it in there. It doesn't mean that you can't have it because this is a quality standard per se, but you need to get that get something out of that. So yeah, use your SMART objectives. But yeah, just because you're doing a quality, your objectives for the business are aligned to your strategic direction. So it may digress from just quality. And Samantha, do you have to upgrade your account to get the templates and use of the Atlas platform in full? If it's a yes, is this for an additional cost? So the answer is yes. So we talk about do you have to upgrade your account? So very, very few companies now have the basic platform, so to speak, but the main platform, which I would say a vast majority have it, the templates are all there that you can interact with. Again, it's something that we can sort of talk about offline, but yes, there is an additional cost, but yeah, the majority of our clients do go for the platform where they are available within the template library. And the template library has sort of 50-60 documents in it. So even though we cover the quality standard within that, there are also additional documents within that platform of 50 documents that sort of sit outside of that. Business continuity, for example, that there's information you can have in there as well. So it's a really good platform. But I think, answering your question, the answer is yes, Samantha. Okay, is it acceptable to review 9001 and in the same meeting? So yes, Kathy, it is. So what you would do then is you'd have the template that I showed you earlier, and you'd specifically mention the 9 and 14, and we call it an IMS, Integrated Management System. So you would have an integrated management review. You just need to make sure that when you're doing your agenda items, that you're covering both the 9 and the 14,000. Again, within the platform, we have those templates that interact all the questions ready for you, whether it's 9, 14 and 45, or any interaction on those. We have specific management reviews templates for all those scenarios. So yeah, hopefully that answers your questions, Kathy. Would you recommending having a separate management review for 17025, or could these two be combined? Okay, Nina, this one here I'd have to take offline and speak to you about, mainly because I concentrate on the 914 and the 45. So if you want to drop me an email when we finish this meeting, I will I'll make contact with you and we can have a little bit of a discussion about that, if that's okay. Okay, if we've previously carried out a management reviews but not to a good enough standard, can we treat our next one as its first one, and how will this make it different? Okay, so George, so if we've previously carried out a management review but not to a good enough standard, so if we were auditing you, we would call that sort of a minor non-conformance. So a minor non-conformance would need to be addressed within 12 months. So you wouldn't need to treat your next one as your first, because it's all part of your continual improvement, your continual development, and you're looking at your risks and reducing those risks and looking at how you can improve. So if you do your first management review and you find, well, actually we've missed out objectives, or we've missed out communication, something like that, then take it on the chin and say, actually, yeah, it isn't good enough. But what we're doing is we're actually conducting our management review, and we know where our shortfalls are. So then you can conduct your management review. Again, you might decide in this case, you might do it quarterly to make sure that you get on top of it. And then your next one will be your second one, because you don't need to hide that you've done your first one and it's not been good enough to a good enough standard. Leave that there and use your next one as your second one, and then you can, we talked about change earlier, you can show the changes between your initial management review and your second management review, so to speak. So yeah, I wouldn't hide anything, George. Take it for what it is, but you're performing them, so that's your first step. You'll always improve from there. That's it. So we don't have any more questions, so appreciate all of those. Appreciate your time on that. So I'm just going to really talk a little bit really about the citation in this first bit with regards to consultancy. So as we say, the majority of people already have a management system, whether that's with citation or not. I personally don't know, but we perform consultancies for companies that are starting to go on to that journey. So if anybody out there is looking at going on that journey, I actually conduct consultancies for the 9, 14 and 45. So I would do a Teams meeting or come on site, and we would look at doing some gap analysis and evaluate issues that you may have with regards to getting the standard that you're looking for. We then look at what we call purple actions, which are actions that you would need to address sort of within the next 6 weeks, and yellow actions like management review that you would need to put in place within the next sort of 12 months. Generally, you can get your certification in around 45 days based on the gap analysis and setting up your processes that we do with you as well. So they're normally sort of a day and a half, 2 days, depending on the standard and how complex your business is. And also we have a lot of organisations that not only use us for their management review, but they also, on top of that, help use our facilities to help you with HR and employment law, to keep you on top of that. Now, employment law, as a business, we have about 120 employment law staff that can give advice. So it's not just 3 people sitting on the end of the phone. There's a big pool of people there that are giving that information out. We can also help you with SSIP through SMAS Worksay. So if it's in the construction industry, we can do the Deemed to Satisfy on the SSIP and help you with that as well. And also other health and safety bits and bobs on there as well. And then finally, the technology side of that, 24/7 access to our bespoke management hub, Atlas. We spoke a little bit about Atlas today. Really good platform. Hopefully some of you out there will have already had this and use it. It's a very good platform. With all the templates and everything else that's in there, it really does assist your management system, particularly management review and internal audits. And then, as I mentioned, the library of customizable templates. So all the templates that you produce will actually have your logo on them, not Atlas or anything like that. So they're actually produced as your sort of documents. Okay, so I mean that is everything that I sort of needed to go through today. I appreciate it's sort of only 31 minutes. Management review is probably one of the shorter webinars that we do just because of the content. But if you want to have a conversation, I'm more than happy via email. As I said in the chat, you can get in touch with me, or you can get in touch as it says online. So if you want any guidance at all on that, then feel free to reach out. I'm going to be available this afternoon and tomorrow. So any emails you send over, I'll have a look at those and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So I'd like to thank you all for attending, and I hope it's been of interest to you, and I hope I've helped you along just a little bit. But as I say, drop me an email if you want anything else. Okay, so thanks for your time, and hopefully see you on a future webinar. Thank you very much.